The Committee on Environment, Land, Agriculture, and Procurement Reform calls this public hearing to order. It is 5:30 p.m. on Monday, December 10th, 2018. Present with me today is Senator Michael Sanicolas, Delegate-elect Michael Sanicolas. Welcome. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive testimony on Bill number 369-34, introduced by myself. It is an act to authorize the sale of a 581 square meter portion of the Old Dela Corte Street and alley in Old Agaña, contiguous to Lot 1000, Lot 1001, Lot 1001-2, Lot 1002, Lot 1006, 7, 8, and Lot 1010 in the Municipality of Hagåtña. We will also be hearing Bill 370-34 COR, introduced by myself. It is an act to authorize a commercial lease between the Mayor of Piti, the Piti Municipal Planning Council, and the Guam Telephone Authority for use of Lot 5, New R1, Block 2, Municipality of Piti. Notice of this evening's public hearing was provided electronically to senators, stakeholders, and the local media on November 30th, 2018, and December 5th, 2018, and was printed in the Guam Daily Post on December 6, 2018, thus meeting the requirements of the Open Government Law. We will now go ahead and begin our testimony. We'll start with Bill 369. Also joining us is Acting Speaker Therese Erlai. Signing up to provide oral testimony is Mr. John Thomas Brown. Mrs. Jones, did you want to testify? Or, okay, fine. Mr. Attorney Brown, if you can go ahead and step forward. We also did receive testimony from the Department of Land Management. And in their testimony, they recognize that Bill 369 seeks to sell an irregular remnant of the Old Dela Corte Street and Municipality of Old Agaña to the contiguous landowner, which would not cause lots to become landlocked, and that such landowner shall be given the opportunity to purchase a portion of this remnant street. The Department of Land Management requests the additional language be placed into the bill to require a consolidation survey map be prepared and approved no later than 90 days from the purchase of the remnant road. There not being any conflicts of ownership and zoning, the Department of Land Management has no objections to Bill 369-34. So with that, Attorney Brown, we can go ahead and start with you.
Thank you, Chairman, Senator and Delegate-elect, and Acting Vice Speaker. My name is John Thomas Brown. I'm Vice President and General Counsel of Jones & Guerrero Company, Inc., and I provide this written testimony and oral testimony in reading this in that capacity on behalf of J&G and in support of the referenced bill.
Can you get the mic closer to you, please?
Okay. I don't want to spit on it. Submitted with this testimony is a copy of a sketch of the government property proposed to be sold to J&G under the terms and conditions of this bill. And these conditions require, among other matters, that the property be defined and sold at full appraised commercial fair value. J&G owns all the contiguous lots on both east and west sides, as well as on the southern end of the Old Dela Corte Street.
So if I may interrupt for a minute, for the
Sure.
benefit of the senators on the panel, on the color graphic that is provided, the owner of the lots that are contiguous to the Dela Corte Street, their property is bounded by the green on the far left, by the green pen mark, and in yellow is the Dela Corte Street, or rather in gold, that is to be acquired. So that's the property we're talking about. I'm sorry, please.
Yes, no, I appreciate the clarification, Senator. Looking at the property at the sketch, it's of no practical value to the government of Guam nor to the public, and yet it cuts off access to the oceanside contiguous lots of J&G from the Marine Drive side. It begins and ends with no meaningful access to anywhere except to the contiguous lots owned by Jones and Guerrero. So by allowing this purchase to proceed, the government will reap the gain from sale of the property at a full commercial appraised value. The property will become taxable, thus expanding the tax base. As well, it allows the contiguous lots to be developed, extending the tax base further. This bill has historical precedence, as was noted by the Director of Land Management in his letter. It is fashioned to the same end as that addressed in Public Law 1692, Section 2, Number 7, enacted in 1982. That law directed the governor to sell a portion of Old Dela Corte to Richard Moylan, who owned contiguous lots to the portion sold in the same manner that J&G does, and believe it's just upstream from our property. More recently, under Public Law 34-134, enacted just this last October, Old Dela Corte Street was further reduced in size by the sale of another portion of it to the EC Development Group, LLC, and its related entities, which owns lots also contiguous to Old Dela Corte Street. The written testimony of EC Development in support of that law, bill, and then became law, described the historical context for that sale, beginning with the enactment prior to Public Law 1692. It recited that many lots along Old Dela Corte had become burdened by the realignment of Route 1, which created access issues for many of the Old Agaña fractional and substandard lots. That pretty well describes our lots, and that when that sale was consummated, Old Dela Corte was irreversibly cut, leaving it with no further public use. This bill, 369-34 Core, would provide legislative approval and direction to consummate the same type of sale to J&G as has been granted for similarly situated portions of Old Dela Corte Street directly contiguous with the portions purchased by Mr. Moylan and by EC Development Group under two separate laws. From the hearing and testimonies received considering Bill 297-34 Core, which became Public Law 34-134, the report of this committee made the following findings. The creation and realignment of Route 1 Marine Corps Drive caused certain Old Agaña streets and alleys to be unnecessary and inoperable streets and alleys to nowhere. These streets and alleys are no longer necessary for public use as determined by the Department of Land Management, but are valuable and usable to private contiguous lots. These streets and alleys, if consolidated with private contiguous lots, become private developable property and increases the real property tax base of the government of Guam. Such is the case with the subject portion of Old Dela Corte Street in that bill, where it will benefit the government of Guam. This disposition, sale to a private contiguous owner with compensation, is appraised subject to the law, that is a fair commercial value. Other unneeded and abandoned portions of Old Dela Corte Street have been sold to other owners, and this unneeded and abandoned portion of Old Dela Corte Street is the last eastern dead-end portion of the street. Relevant to that last finding, the portion unneeded and abandoned next of Old Dela Corte in J&G's case is the western dead-end portion of the street as it abuts the river. The rationale of this legislation dealing with specific portions of Old Dela Corte Street canvassed above is further buttressed by a different public law, 33-90, which made the following findings. The legislature finds that the government of Guam has a number of land remnants that are substandard in size and as a consequence would not be suitable to build on. Additionally, there exist numerous stretches of bull cart trails which no longer serve the transportation function they were originally intended for because they have been replaced by alternate road corridors that have been subsequently constructed. And in many cases, such as ours, land remnants are now landlocked. These bull cart trails are now landlocked. Notwithstanding this, these land remnants have value and utility for landowners who own the properties contiguous to the remnants, and the legislature receives numerous requests for the authorization to purchase these lands. And the legislature intends to authorize the sale of these bull cart trails and land remnants. I therefore ask you, Senators, that you extend to J&G the same opportunity to purchase the portion of Old Dela Corte Street identified in this bill that has been extended to other contiguous owners over the decades, and thereby enhance its value and utility to J&G as well as to the government of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Jones, did you want to comment?
The only comment I can add to that, Senator, is the fact that the location of this piece of property we're talking about is quite difficult to get in and out of. We've tried restaurants, we've tried coffee shops, we've tried everything, and almost all of them eventually closed down because there's one way to get in, one way to get out. And to make matters worse, this tiny piece of strip of land that belongs to the government is right between the front door of the building and the exit. So I'm not sure exactly how many square feet is encompassed in this bit of land, but if possible, we'd like to purchase it from the government at whatever price they want, because we really need it more than you do. And you'll be getting our taxes every year. We'll continue paying taxes on that piece of property, but right now, really, it's so inconveniently located for our needs, because like I said, it's after the front door of the building and before the exit to Marine Drive. So if possible, we'd like your kind consideration of the issue, and if possible, we'd like to be able to purchase it from the government at the price that is fair and equitable to everybody. So that's about the only position I want to state, is that we really, really need this if we're going to develop some kind of business on that side of the street. Because right now, it's been idle for how many years now? We continue paying taxes on it, and we're getting nothing for it. So if possible, we'd like to have you consider our request, please. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Senator Nicholas, do you have any?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank the owners of the adjacent lots for going through this this process. I know that this can be a tedious process, so I thank you. Just to be clear for the listening audience, the strip of land that we're talking about is within the vicinity of that old building where they used to sell the ostrich, right? Yes. If I remember correctly. I'll always remember that as the ostrich building. The ostrich steak, right? The ostrich meat. And it's right there, right next to the river, the Hagåtña River, before going out into the bay.
Yes, sir.
And you're right, ma'am, it has been too many years that property has sat idle. I always wondered why. You know, I would always drive by and say, that's a very nice piece of property. Why don't they turn it into some kind of, very, commercially viable operation? But now I understand why.
Thank you.
We have a chunk of land that was a remnant of an old pathway that once upon a time the government used to allow for the community to traverse on when moving necessary goods. But now that we have the actual road right there in front of the property, that this is no longer necessary. And so because we have this huge chunk of government land right there, pretty much in the way of all these adjacent lots, you're unable to extract the full value of those properties, because that government portion is right there in the middle of it. Yes. And also for the benefit of the listening audience, you can't get the necessary financing to be able to fully develop an area if there aren't the proper setbacks.
Yes.
And that includes setbacks to government parcels, whether or not those government parcels are usable. Mm-hmm. And so we have a government parcel right next to the old ostrich restaurant building, and that's the reason why we can't make good commercial use of that property.
No.
If we're able to get this small chunk of government land sold for its value to the adjacent property owners, your intention is to develop that property and make it commercially viable.
Yes, sir.
so that we can probably bring ostrich back into the... At the very least, though, you know, aside from, Mr. Chairman, aside from this being able to increase the valuations of the adjacent lots for property tax purposes that will benefit education, the ability for us to get that place commercially viable again will create jobs. It'll create more tax base from which we can further help support the activities of this government. So I thank the owners of the adjacent lots for the courage to go through this legislative process to get this parcel sold. But I'm confident that similar to the other recent adjacent lots that we've dealt with along the same area, we should be able to move this forward. I'd like to thank the mover of the bill as well for his persistence in order to get these parcels dealt with. I'm very confident that once we deal with these chunks that are just kind of getting in the way along that area, we're going to see that whole area develop into something pretty fantastic. And so we've done that. We've done so recently with Public Law 34-134. I'm looking forward to us being able to do so again with Bill 369-34. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony today. And I understand the predicament that you are in. Could you just please describe the access right now? Do you use the access? Do you have a copy of this map? Okay, so do you use the access as outlined in orange, the government property, for access to the property right now?
We don't have the colored map, but the access has been recently changed with the realignment of the bridge and the road, and so we have had different access points over time as the government has kind of pushed us this way and that.
Okay, because it shows that J&G does own a portion of the road, but I'm not sure if you can. Do you access Marine Drive from Marine Corps Drive from the J&G portion, or only from the government portion?
It goes across one of our lots because the alley that's there is not as wide as the driveway. Okay. I remember it long before the ostrich. When I first came out in 1982, that was the site. There was an old mobile home there because we had sold those modular homes, and that was the headquarters. That was our offices for our distribution business, which at that time was only brokerage. You didn't need warehouses because you couldn't warehouse anything and run a wholesale company. So it was just a brokerage office, and so I still refer to it as the old MBI property, and it had its own different access, as the roads kind of changed and the potholes built up in one place and you switched to another.
Could you describe what is behind your property on the ocean side? It looks like there's a significant...
We have a number of lots on the ocean side behind the Old Dela Corte portion that we're trying to acquire. Beyond that, there's accretion as far as I know.
There's a what?
Accretion.
Did you...
It's
so this, it looks like... all right. That's what I'm wondering. That's... I think I've been to this when it was a restaurant or a coffee shop most recently. And yeah, they had made a garden back there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't own that portion?
No, I believe that's public property.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, all right. I see another map.
We would like to.
There's another map that shows
that
that's
becomes
government.
available.
All right. Would you object that the Department of Land Management had suggested that we include in the bill additional language to require consolidation survey map be prepared and approved no later than 90 days from the purchase of the remnant road?
No, that's the same. We patterned ourselves after the last bill that went through for the Calvos, and that was one of the conditions there. I presumed it was going to be one of the conditions here. We've had the map that you show has been recently sketched by a surveyor, and it's done with the express intent that this will form the basis of the final survey and then consolidation map. So yeah, we think that we're on track to do all that.
All right. I note that the government of Guam owns the other side of your lots, so that there is some kind of access, like along the river, for the government of Guam.
Yes,
Between
the
river,
riverside.
Hagåtña River and your
riverside.
property. It
Yeah.
looks like it's owned by the government of Guam. Is that correct? Except for the very front. Well, we'll confirm this later, but yeah, I kind of want to see if there's access to the ocean from anybody walking that way. I know you can get around across the river to Paseo, but
Yeah,
yes.
there's along the riverside, there is, we don't own that up to the river banks. We own it up to the lines that you see there.
Okay.
And I always, not always, but for several years, I have thought it would be a grand idea if Guam would build a bridge similar to the San Antonio Bridge, recreation of that across the river mouth. And because you have all that parking over there, you can imagine all the people who would love to have all their wedding photos taken on that bridge with the bay behind it, and beyond that, two lovers. I just thought it would be a very romantic addition to the revitalization of Hagåtña, and give more interest to that whole point out there.
This is right across from the Guam Seal
Yes.
Yes.
scenic spot or historic spot, right?
Which of course it's not, because the Guam Seal was done before. That was all bulldozed and everything. But it's a nice romantic idea.
All right.
It's all in here.
Yeah, I have no further questions at this time. Have you had appraisals done already?
Yes, we use the same appraisers as just recently appraised the Calvo properties. We use those two because we figure, first of all, they'd be up to speed, and secondly, you've approved them. So we use those appraisals, and the reports are with the Senator's office.
All right. I guess I'm going to suggest or request copies of those. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Jones.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Madam
us.
Speaker. Just a couple of things. The proceeds from this sale, just to make it clear, the proceeds from the sale will be deposited into the Chamorro Land Trust Survey and Infrastructure Fund, and that's the fund that funds the surveying of Chamorro Land Trust properties, which is needed before they can be leased out. Secondly, in the bill, it does make reference to the approval and recordation of a consolidated map, and once that is done, then a new assessment will be made on the consolidated property for tax purposes. So, with that, I don't have any questions, and unless you have any closing remarks you want to make, otherwise.
We just wanted to appear before you and let you know that how useless really the property is to us, as long as that piece of the government land is right between the front door and the entrance to Marine Drive.
Understood.
Thank you. Thank
And
you
so
very
with
much.
that, then, there being no further testimonies or questions, we'll consider Bill 369-34 as having been duly heard. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jones. Thank you. We'll move on to the next bill, and that is Bill number 370-34. It's to authorize a commercial lease between the Mayor of Piti, the Municipal Planning Council, and the Guam Telephone Authority for the use of Lot 5 New -R1 Block 2. Testimony from Department of Land Management. Land Management acknowledges that the lot in question has been under the administrative jurisdiction of the Municipality of Piti, and that was, I believe, I'm not sure. It has been under the administrative jurisdiction of the Piti Municipal Planning Council. And we got the documents. I forget how long it's been. Maybe you can cover that in your testimony. The department does not have any concerns with the property ownership and zoning, and does not have further comments regarding Bill 370, signed Michael J.B. Borja. So with that, we have signing up to provide testimony Mr. Dan Taidinco, Mayor Jesse Alec. We have Mr. Michael Ibio, Mr. Joe Taimanglo, Tanatongo, and Ms. Cruz, all in favor of the bill. So we'll start with Mr. Dan Taidinco, or I would like to defer to the mayor.
You want me to go first?
Okay. Mr. Taidinco.
Often day and good evening, Mr. Chairman and Madam Speaker. And I don't like to refer to him as delegate. I like congressman because I grew up with Congressman Wampat, so congressman-elect. On behalf of GTA, I'm here to testify in support of Bill 370-34. As you may be aware, GTA has been undertaking expansion initiatives to enhance telecommunications for the benefit of all of our subscribers. The phenomenal demand for services and appetite for increased data capacity and speeds dictate our further need and attention to meet that consumer call. A couple of years ago, we positioned ourselves to bring in the needed and anticipated capacity with the conversion and construction of our Piti facility into a cable landing station. That facility across from Santos Park in Piti was put in place to house new cables coming on island. We joined the CUS consortium with others to participate in a multi-million-dollar submarine cable investment, which traverses from Indonesia to the Philippines to Guam to Hawaii and on to the West Coast. This is the newest submarine cable on island and accords all of Guam's people the much-needed capacity to meet seemingly insatiable telecommunication demands. The Piti facility houses all the equipment and electronics required to securely and reliably receive and transmit the signals for our telecommunications here and beyond. It also serves as an additional pathway to ensure we don't remain vulnerable and single-threaded, as in the instance of the CNMI a couple of years ago. To accommodate increasing demands and to house further cables which have indicated their commitment to land here at our facility, we have assessed the need to expand the current footprint and facility there in Piti. To that end, we started discussions with the Piti Mayor and his Municipal Planning Council to gauge support from their village. In the discussions, we expressed our interest in the lot right next door to our existing facility. That lot is in the custody of the Municipality of Piti and is presently being used as a basketball court for its residents. When I broached this idea with the Piti Mayor, he noted the proposal was fortuitous, as the villagers have expressed recent concerns with the court being so close to Marine Drive and a major fatal accident taking place right there a year and a half ago. As a partner with the village, we worked together on the broad strokes of the draft legislation with the committee chairman, Senator Atta, for everybody to consider. Bill 370-34 would authorize the Piti Mayor and his Municipal Planning Council to lease the lot where the roadside basketball is currently situated with terms and conditions dictated in this measure. Almost similar to what GTA presently does with all its government leases, we would make annual fair market lease payments directly to the office of the Piti Mayor for its community use. Once authorized, aside from the lease payments, GTA would further obligate itself in the lease payment with Piti to build and maintain a new multipurpose court behind the facility and away from the road frontage. We've also committed to upgrading and enhancing Rios Middle School in the village with state-of-the-art connectivity for the benefit of the students and the faculty there. We support this measure and believe it exhibits good corporate community partner relations and hope the body favorably considers passage of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taidinco. Mayor Alec?
Hafide, Mr. Chairman, Acting Speaker, and Congressman. Thank you for allowing us an opportunity to come before you to express our support for Bill 370-34. Tonight, the Piti Municipal Planning Council members join me in offering this testimony. Since taking office in January 2017, we have focused our efforts in making sure our residents are safe from flooding, our families have recreational facilities to play their favorite sport or enjoy our beautiful Guam weather, our manamko are given opportunities to share their talents and participate in activities that rejuvenate their mind, body, and soul, And most especially, we have worked diligently to maintain a community with positive social and familial values with the creation of programs and events focused on the family unit. As you well know, our district funds for fiscal year 2019 was reduced for a number of reasons. As team players in the government of Guam, we've taken great strides to creatively finance the many programs we've planned for our community. Our population of approximately 1,500 residents is minute compared to the area of land we're charged to maintain. After maintenance, supplies, equipment, and repair, we're left with a small fraction of appropriated funds to accomplish the large part of what our residents expect from us. GTA's request to lease Government of Guam property in Piti will benefit all of us. First, it provides GTA the necessary land space they need to effectively run their communications operations that serves the entire island community. Secondly, the lease rental, if assigned to the Piti Mayor's office, will subsidize our reduced budget. We are fully aware that our only basketball court sits atop the portion of land GTA wishes to lease. We are grateful for GTA's commitment to relocate and upgrade this court to a preferred site away from highway traffic and closer to the neighborhood. In an attempt to maintain the vivaciousness of our active and engaged community, we implore your help to pass Bill 370-34 so that we can continue to serve our people with nothing less than the best. Sizos Masi.
Thank you very much, Mayor Alec. Ms. Cruz, did you?
Hafide, good evening. Mayor Alec here asked me to read the Municipal Planning Council's resolution out loud for the record.
Yes, please.
Resolution number 2018-04, introduced by Jesse L.G. Alec, Faye G. Carbolito, Yvette Marie L.G. Cruz, Michael Q. Ebio, Ria J. Borja, Jolene M.D. Leon Guerrero, Deborah C. Kinga, Jennifer Gumatautal, Joseph T. Tainatongo, relative to the Piti Municipal Planning Council's support of Teleguam Holdings LLC, DBA GTA's request to lease Lot 5 New R1, Block 2 in the Municipality of Piti. Whereas on December 5, 2018, during a regular meeting of the Piti Municipal Planning Council, members discussed the proposal by Teleguam Holdings LLC, DBA GTA, to lease Lot 5 New R1, Block 2. Whereas GTA currently leases the adjacent property from the Government of Guam and has been a productive community partner since the inception of their lease. Whereas members agreed that GTA has been a positive influence to our community with respect to their facilities and infrastructure upgrades. Whereas members concur that the annual rent to be paid to the Piti Municipal Planning Council shall be determined by the average of 2 appraisals selected by GTA, and the rent amount shall escalate in subsequent years. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Piti Municipal Planning Council unanimously supports the lease of Lot 5 New R1, Block 2, Piti, to GTA. Now therefore be it further resolved that the chairperson certify and the vice chairperson attest to the adoption hereof, and that copies of the same be transmitted to the Governor of Guam, the Speaker of Imina 34 na Legislatura en Guahan, and the Department of Land Management, duly recorded and regularly adopted on this 5th day of December 2018, signed by Jesse L.G. Alec, Mayor of Piti and Chairperson, and myself, Yvette Marie L.G. Cruz, Vice Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cruz. I just want to take note that in the last whereas clause is that the 2 appraisals shall be done by, appraisers selected by GTA. In the bill, it makes reference in Section 4 that appraisals will be done in accordance with 2 GCA 2107B relative to appraisals of land. And I believe in that section, I think we'll find, I'll have to go and look at it, but I think it finds that probably GTA will do one of the appraisals and the mayor's office will have to select a second appraiser to do an appraisal, and so that we can get the two, and then you average, as opposed to GTA doing both appraisals.
Senator, if I may, I think it would be, for us, we don't really have the funds to pay for an appraiser. And so I think the reason why we noted that as in our resolution was if the legislature would be amenable to it, the council and I are okay with GTA providing both appraisals and for us to get the average of both appraisals.
Sure. Or at the very least, the Municipal Planning Council will select the second appraiser, and GTA can go ahead and shoulder the cost of the two appraisers.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, when we were endeavoring to do the measure a couple of months back, we already took the initiative to undertake two independent appraisals that are certified on island with Cornerstone Valuation, Hagåtña, as well as Island Chief Appraisals, Richard Gutierrez. So they're both certified appraisals. I'm not sure, those are just completed in July of this year. I don't know if the legislature would want us to go through the exercise of getting...
Well, we just need to take a look at that section of 2 GCA to see and make sure that we don't, that we comply with that section of the law regarding, my recollection of it is that the government picks one and then the other party picks the other one. So we'll look at that, but we won't, I'm sure that's not going to impede forward movement. Okay?
If there's a need for us to pay for an appraiser of their own choice, that's fine too.
Okay, fine. Senator Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I very much appreciated the testimony, Mr. Tedinko, that included the add-ons above and beyond just the lease payments. Getting the connectivity to Piti Middle School and rebuilding the basketball court, I think, will be really good corporate gestures. I just wanted to ask, I know that we did not write that into the bill, that those are going to be requirements of the transaction. And so we're kind of, I guess, putting it into the hands of the mayor and the Municipal Planning Council that they're going to handle that on the lease side. So just noting that for the record, that we're not putting that into the mandate. So you'll just have to make sure it's in the lease. But I also wanted to just respectfully advise and maybe first request of the company that not only do they provide those extra benefits to the community, but they also include the costs of repairs and maintenance of those added.
That was already been a discussion, aside from just the relocation and reconstruction of a new multipurpose court away from the road. We already agreed to include in addition to the construction of that, we agreed to do the annual continued recurring maintenance of the facility on behalf of the community. So, and aside from the lease payments, we have the escalator clauses in there, which presently mirror what we do right now with our other land leases through the Chamorro Land Trust. So it has I think there are 8 to 10% escalators every few years. I can't remember the exact amount, but.
Great, and thank you so much for that. I want to just extend my thanks to GTA. I know that it's one thing to just come up with an offer on paying the fair market value for the leases, but adding also on top of that the escalating percentage every 5 years, and on top of that rebuilding the assets, adding in the connectivity asset, and then agreeing to the repairs and maintenance costs of those assets. Those are all just very generous concessions from the company, so I wanted to thank you on behalf of the people of Guam. As a basketball player growing up in the southern village of Talafofo, I know how frustrating it can be when there's no net, or worse, when there's no rim. And so being able to have the basketball court moved further back, away from the roadside, but also to have it repaired and maintained on a regular basis is going to be very good for the community. So I wanted to thank you, GTA, for your corporate citizenship, and thank you so much, Mayor, for your strong negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony today, and I very much appreciate the Municipal Planning Council weighing in on this. I think it's very important. I have a couple questions, though. So the Municipal Planning Council described that that GTA currently leases adjacent property from the government of Guam. Could you describe that lease? And first of all,
Right.
sorry, before we go there, they also talk about, well, this property is also described as the Pedro C. Santos Memorial Park in Piti. Is that correct? Is this property the Pedro Santos Memorial Park in Piti, or is that the adjacent?
Which lot? The lot that we presently occupy is across from Pedro Santos Park. The park on the beach.
Yes.
Across the street, there's a facility there. It's about a quarter-acre facility. It's been a GTA facility since it was government-owned.
And that's mountain side of Route 1, of
That's
Marine
correct.
Drive. Okay. Well, I'm looking at
The map?
it says it's a draft contract between GTA and Piti. And it says, whereas the use of Piti Remote Equipment Center
Right.
requires the cable to land from the ocean at the Pedro C. Santos Memorial Park in Piti, Santos Park.
Right.
And so it talks all about the Santos Park. Do you lease Santos Park from the mayor of Piti?
We had a separate lease with the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. If I'm trying to remember, it's the Chamorro Land Trust or the Territorial Seashore Commission for the submerged land on the other side, on the inland, the water side rather, not the inland side, but on the water side. So when we were endeavoring to do the project, we communicated with the mayor and all of the other regulatory entities, both local and federal, to when we're coming into the water as well as on the terrestrial side, to ensure that we're in compliance with everything. We ended up having to do a lease with for the submerged lease, the submerged license on that side. And when we came up to the terrestrial side, through the clearances and stuff, we did what was called horizontal drilling underneath the park, which goes underneath the roadway into that wreck that you're alluding to there on the, not the inland side.
Okay, yes, so to get there, do you lease that property?
Do we lease?
From the submerged land, the park, the beachfront
We have a submerged license.
license?
Right.
What about the beach
No,
property?
we don't, not that I recall if we lease the beach side. That's underneath and
Yes.
stuff, but we lease on the inland side.
Okay, and so you ran cables through the beach land property, the beach side, and under the roadway, and that part's not being leased. And then where you land on the other side of Route 1, that's where you're currently leasing with Chamorro Land Trust?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's one of several parcels that we lease from Chamorro Land Trust.
One of several parcels in Piti?
No, one of several parcels throughout the
All
island.
right, yeah, we did one recently for Asen.
Not that I recall.
Oh.
It's the same. You guys were in session last week.
Yes, yes. So,
It was a corrective Scrivener's error from
okay,
last
so
week.
we corrected the adjacent, your lease with the Chamorro Land Trust that's adjacent to this property that you now want. Okay. All right. Now, this property currently has a basketball court, the one along Marine Drive. And isn't that property currently taken care of by another company? Is it?
No, that's incorrect. My office takes care of it.
Okay.
MEC actually built the basketball court.
MEC, yeah,
Right.
that's why, I thought I remember
Correct.
their sign there, but you take care of it
Correct.
since then, okay. And so, okay, and then my other question was similar to what the prior senator brought up, was the terms of the lease that you described. They don't seem to match this document that I have in front of me, or are they going to be put in writing? Are they already in writing? This one says it's a lease with the Office of the Mayor of Piti, but this was Mayor Gumatauta back in 2016, it looks like. Is this a similar transaction?
I think
You're
that
looking
was
at-
probably the lease to go through the Pedro Santos part.
That's correct. And that was for, in exchange for our recurring maintenance for the beach side, which we do for the community every month or so.
Okay, so that lease has expired, so you no longer pay for use of that property, the beach park, but you maintain it?
We maintain that.
All right, but the community is able to use the beach park right now? I know it was closed for a while. I think that was when they were putting in their cables,
Correct.
Right? Okay, so this part across Marine Drive now, this is a basketball court currently. It's the one that was built by MEC, and but the items you said earlier, such as you're going to build another court or multi-purpose court someplace. Are those in writing anywhere?
What we're doing right now is we're getting the authorization from the legislature vis-a-vis this bill. And aside from just the fair market value lease, which is articulated here with the other terms and conditions, we already disclosed to the mayor, in addition to the rental payments that we would otherwise, that would be giving to the community, we would additionally move, of course, the basketball court, relocate it, reconstruct it, maintain it. They'll be all in the lease agreement once it's all finished between the Municipal Planning Council and GTA, and also with the imprimatur and review of the Attorney General's office. I'm sure he'll be the first one to tell you that we didn't live up to our agreement if that's the concern. Well,
I'm concerned about how they are able to enforce that type of an agreement, right? That it should be in writing. It should be part of the negotiations. I feel like the mayor should be free to actually negotiate. Sure. Much more than just the fair market value of this land, and as you have done. And so, but I think if you're going to enforce it, you need it in writing. And this bill, we'll take a look at it again, but normally when they authorize these transactions, they mandate the transactions. I think in this case it's mandated, and that may give some wiggle room as to whether those other stipulations have to be included in the lease or not. So I would just suggest if there's a lease to be done and we can attach it,
we have no issues with attaching the lease to this.
All right, and Mayor, yes, are you satisfied that the community of Piti has received the best value that it could get?
I am, Speaker. I think the negotiations with GTA regarding the maintenance of the multipurpose court solidified that for me, because just an additional facility without maintenance would be very difficult for me, and I prefer the multipurpose court over another kind of facility that would require more energy, because we have to work within our means as well. And then the work with Jose Rios Middle School, not most of those children, but a lot of the children utilize the basketball court that we currently have after school. And so we've been wanting to move that basketball court towards the neighborhood for that purpose. So with the lease payments and the upgraded court and the maintenance of the court, I believe it is fair. I think our council believes it's fair. I have a 9-member council that's very vocal. So I trust their advice as well, and we are all in agreement.
All right, thank you. And then just one final question, Dan. Can you remind me, who do you lease the submerged lands from? Who is your agreement with?
I gotta verify if it's with the Chamorro Land Trust or I don't know why the Territorial Seashore Commission. There's some entity that we.
Could I just get a copy if you find that?
Sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's no other further questions or comments. We'll consider Bill 370 as having been duly heard. And with that, we'll consider this public hearing to be adjourned at this time. Thank you.